question is, do buyers pay a real estate commission? And the easy and quick answer is no, at least in my experience, right? So generally, how that process works is when someone goes to list a property, a listing agent, if you will, and a realtor, part of their negotiation with the seller on listing that home is negotiating the total commission for that property. Not only the listing side commission, but also the buyer side commission. So there's a total commission, and then the listing agent and that seller decide between the two of them how that commission is split up. So let's go hypothetically and say the commission is, say, 6%, and the agent and the seller decide that the listing agent gets 3.5% and the buyer's agent gets 2.5%. So that 2.5% would be what the buyer would make on the transaction in buying that property. So you, as a buyer, in working with a real estate agent, any real estate agent, if you will, that's how your agent would get paid. They would get the commission from that transaction when that transaction closed. So you, as a buyer, aren't expected to pay any fees. Now, here's the caveat. Recently, I would say within the last couple of years, there's been a lot of commission pressure out there. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of smaller companies that are approaching sellers saying, hey, we'll list your property for less money, and you don't have to pay all these exorbitant fees. You don't have to pay the 6% to sell your house. We'll sell it for 1%, and we'll only charge you, say, 1%, 2% to help sell the property to the buyer's agent. So now you've got a listing agent out there who's no longer selling that property for, say, 6%. They're selling it for a lot less. And so they're taking that split, and so now the buyer's agent, maybe say they did it for 3, the listing agent's taking 1, the buyer's agent's getting 2%. So now you've got a 2% listing out there. Well, a lot of buyer's agents don't feel like 2% is fair compensation, and I use 2 as an example. There's some people out there offering 1%, some people offering just $5,000 or whatever that amount is, and so you get a lot of buyer's agents out there that feel like they're not being compensated fairly. And so in that case, that buyer's agent may go to you as a buyer and say, hey, look, I don't feel like I'm getting compensated fairly by showing you that property. I need to ask for more money. And in that case, an agent could come to you and ask for money. But traditionally speaking, that commission is paid for by the listing side. Now, what I will tell you is that smart listing agents, professionals in the business out there, when they're negotiating their commission, they're also taking into account the buyer's agent, right? Because the buyer's agent is truly as important on most properties as the listing agent, because a lot of times they're the ones bringing the buyer to the transaction. So we know as listing agents, as professionals, that buyer's agent needs to be compensated fairly. So we want as high a commission for that buyer's agent as we can possibly negotiate with the seller, because we want as many buyer's agents to want to show that property to their buyers as possible, because we're more than likely as a listing agent to get the price that we're trying to achieve for our seller when we've got multiple people out there showing the property, multiple offers on the property, etc. So I kind of got off on a tangent there, but to answer the question is, traditionally speaking, buyer's agents get their compensation from the listing agent, from that broker, when they sell the property. So you as a buyer aren't responsible for paying that, and shouldn't have to pay any fees. So right now, beginning of 2020, that's how the market works. Could it change in the future? It could. There's a lot of companies out there trying to change the way this works. Actually, there's a lawsuit in, I think, Chicago or Illinois or something that is on this topic exactly, where the listing broker or the seller shouldn't have to pay buyer compensation. So we'll see where that goes, but traditionally speaking, it is paid for by the listing side, and as of now, that's the way it goes. So if something changes, I'll do an update on the video, but until then, that's what it is. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.